Some current opportunities you have within Innovators Engage and Innovators Connect would be to be a speaker for an ESM webinar. If you're interested in speaking in a webinar, please go check that out. We're looking for a speaker up in this upcoming March to speak on ITSM. If you're also interested in speaking with our UX team for Neurons MDM, please complete that challenge. We're looking for feedback on what MDM users are really looking for when it comes to data and analytics. Something a little bit more lighthearted, share your goals, share your 2024 goals within Innovators Engage, whether it be personal or what you're doing with your Ivanti Neurons, your Ivanti solutions. Also now that's live is to be a speaker at Ivanti Solutions Summit. So that's coming up in April. If you're attending and you're interested in speaking at the event, the application is live and you can find that information on Ivanti's website or at Innovators Engage. I'm gonna let Graham speak for my team real quick about this NHS user group meeting. So Graham, if you're on, can you share a little bit more information?
I am on. Sorry, my microphone took a little while there, Cass, to refresh itself for some reason. Yes, this is if we have any of our NHS customers on the call, we have a user group meeting happening on the 7th of February. If you haven't already signed up for that, we've got some very interesting conversations during that meeting, specifically aimed at, as I say, customers from the NHS sector. So I'm going to put a link in the chat to that. That's really all I want to say. I think I see Lee on the call. I think Lee's already signed up for that one, but I won't take up any more of your time, but I will pop a link to register for that NHS user group meeting in the chat.
Thanks, Graham. And then some, okay, and then some other upcoming opportunities is we did have a few other innovator previews this week actually for UEM and security. So the recordings of those will be live soon within Innovators Engage. And if you were interested in listening to those, please check that out. And then upcoming is we're working on a beta. I'm working with the product team to find some people to participate in this beta. So the challenge is not live yet, but just be on the lookout. And then one last plug for Ivanti Solutions Summit, again, coming to Texas in April of this year. So if you haven't signed up, I would go ahead and do so. I think our early bird pricing actually ends tomorrow. So if you're thinking about going or know you're going and you haven't registered yet or gotten your ticket, I would do so now while you still get that early bird pricing. So I just wanted to call that out. Okay, that's about it for me. Before I send it over to Robin, though, if you do have any questions during this call, please post them within the chat, so the Teams chat. It'll be monitored by our product management team, and they'll either answer your questions via chat or at the end of the call, depending on what type of question it is. I just wanted to let everyone know, if you have a question, please just post it in the chat, and we'll make sure to get to it. Okay, thanks. Robin, over to you.
Wonderful. Thanks, Cassidy, and a big hello to everybody. So excited for the opportunity to meet those of you who are going to the Solutions Summit in a few months, of course, and also very excited for today's call, obviously joined by the broader Neurons product team that we have here in Ivanti to share some exciting updates in terms of what we've been working on. And indeed, we'll talk a little bit around what we're working towards, some of the opportunities for you to be more closely involved in some of the design process as we go through. So in terms of the running order for today, we have some items to talk about from a general platform capability, and then we will jump in and have a look at what we have been working towards from a discovery, workspace, edge intelligence, healing, and patch management. As Kirsty pointed out, was already covered in a call yesterday, but we will have Chris give an executive overview of what was some of the key call outs there. Okay, so with that said, we have quite a lot of things to talk through today. Again, we won't go deep on the majority of this, but what we'll do is share some of the key areas, and we'll supplement those with a couple of demos as well to really share some of the work that we've been doing. So as we work towards the release, the theme for the 2024.1, our January release, is connected ecosystem and operational efficiency. So connectivity, of course, very, very important. As we speak to many of you, the importance of connecting into your existing application ecosystem to be able to drive, to be able to integrate more deeply, to be able to unlock end-to-end use cases, it is incredibly important. And so, of course, our connectors are one means of being able to do that, the ability to go and pull in information, to normalize, to reconcile, to create or augment or enrich the data that we hold within neurons. But as well as that, we've also introduced for this release, as well as enhancements and new connectors, we've also introduced some API level capability. So this is both the ability to trigger our automation externally, but also within our automation, the ability to go out and interact with third-party ecosystems, either to pull in information or drive changes. And we'll talk more about that capabilities as we get in. We also have some exciting capabilities with our app distribution as well. So there's a number of new features in our app distribution, but also that conduit. So as we're creating new features and capabilities on the platform, we're making sure that we are making those as accessible as possible by plumbing them in both to our own experiences and also making those available more broadly. So the second pillar is around operational efficiency. So this is really geared towards helping our customers to really be more efficient with their IT initiatives. So we have, of course, automation firmly lives within that category. So we have a wealth of new content in there, which content is both out of the box bots, templates, but also brand new stages as well. So we'll talk about those. Also excited to move our Teams interaction capabilities from beta to GA. So we'll be making that change across the next couple of weeks. Number of new features that Alan will talk about as we get into app distribution. And our survey management capabilities is a brand new feature as part of our workspace and healing to be able to uplift user sentiment. Customer requests are incredibly important to us. You no doubt, if you've raised any ideas within the feature portal, notice our focus as we look at those items with the higher votes, we execute on those. So some of the items that we are tackling in this quarter, first of all, is for customers who leverage our application controller, want to leverage our application control capabilities to be able to control which applications can run, to manage privileges within those applications. We have a suite of new sensors to be able to support that. We'll show those. The ability to share edge intelligence queries that have been customized among your teammates is included. We'll talk through those, as well as some new capabilities to be able to lift information out of bots and download information from CSV. Last but not least, we also have a number of remote control improvements. So with that said, we're going to get started with platform. So we have a range of things to talk about, but kicking things off for us today is Susan Fung, who's going to talk about one of our hotly anticipated features, which is our dashboard designer capabilities. Over to you, Susan.
All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you, Robin, for doing the introduction. So let me see. Are you sharing? Let me start sharing my deck, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Okay. So hello, everybody. Dashboard designer. So if you do play around in our current Neuron platform, we currently have something like a dashboard designer where you can create your own dashboard, pick your fields, but feature is very limited. The charts you can choose is limited. The data you choose is limited. Not anymore. In this upcoming release, we're going to release the beta version of Dashboard Designer. We will finally give you the power to unlock the value of your own data. We will start with device data, and it is the device data from your inventory scan or your agents, collected by your agents. So you will be able to create your own dashboard using your data from now on. And it's not just that. To make it even easier for you all, for quicker ROI, our device data are actually curated and pre-processed. That means you don't have to worry about the unit for your memory is a different unit. You don't have to worry about the time stamp or in different format. We do all of that for you. So when you create your dashboard, it really is as simple as 1, 2, 3. pick the data type, pick the data set you want, pick the fields you want, pick the charts you want, do it a few times to create on your own dashboard. It's as easy as that. Not only that will make it easier for you to create dashboard that you can share with your team. You can track the status of your environment. You can now make it easier for you to do self-service ad hoc analytics, where you pretty much just have a question you have about your devices, and you can now create a chart to answer that questions. So enough of that. So let me just give you a quick demo of how it actually look like. So right now, you can see we will have a new dashboard list. So once you click into it, you can see all the dashboard you created, all dashboard that share to you. Of course, if the dashboards are shared with you, then you cannot edit it. But if as a dashboard that you created, obviously you have full edit right, and you can also rest assured if you share a dashboard with somebody else, that person are not gonna go in and change your thing. So we're gonna have really good sharing, publishing capability. That's the first thing. And of course, you can love it. I know how you all love data. In case where you all have too many dashboards in the future, we'd also make it easier for you to search for it, to store your favorite example. So let's take a look of how the dashboard will look like for now. So you can see we only have one example right now. When we start, we're gonna have a field chart type to pick from, that pie chart table, big numbers, and bar chart. And the filtering capability are gonna be quite strong as well. So as you can see, you can easily add filter at the dashboard level. So any filter adding at the dashboard level, when you apply it, will automatically apply to all charts. So that's good. So let me show you how easy it is to create a dashboard. I said it's as easy as 1, 2, 3, and it is going to be as easy as 1, 2, 3. So you add new dashboard, and then you can do that by start creating a new chart. Like I said, all you have to first do is pick the data set you want. Obviously, this is some of the data set you just saw are still the development data set, but when you sign up for the beta, or when we release it to GA the next quarter, we will start with the device data. Then you can pick the chart type you have. Again, we want to start with a few of the most commonly used chart type first. Obviously, as time goes by, we will likely add more chart to make our experience even richer. So let me just pick a big number chart. Those big number are your favorite when you want to create KPIs. For example, so let's see, we do have about 50, like I said, 50 fields that we curated and cleaned it up for you. So when you see a timestamp, all those time will be consistent. When you see something like got available storage for the hardware, we all standardize the unit, so it will be gigabyte, and same like a speed, they will all be standardized into gigahertz. So you don't have to worry about, would they be the same unit? So we take care of those pre-processing for you. That's one thing we're pretty proud of. So let me pick an example here. How about I want to see if there are any devices that would need, how about firewall enabled? Let's see if we have. Let's think about the use case. We want to see if there's any firewall that are turned off. I think that's a pretty good dashboard to check the security status. So for example, here we want to see the count of devices, because we want to see the count of devices who has a turn off. Then filter, then also you can say, well, also obviously firewall, we want to have it equal to false, because we wanted to see when any device of firewall is turned off. That's it. Then you could create chart. Wow, this is a very good tenant. I have no device on firewall turn off. So all I have to do is give it a name of the chart. And then to do is save to your new dashboard. And voila, this is how you add your first chart to your dashboard. And if you want to do it to completely build out the dashboard, you did the same thing the few times, add a few charts. And not only we have the capability to add charts, you can add a layout item. And what I love even more is it is quite editable. You can move them around. The feature is quite rich for you to make the dashboard exactly the way you want. So here's a little demo of it. Like Cassidy's talked a little bit, mentioned in there earlier, I'm recruiting beta customer. So once that challenge is available, if you like what you see, do sign up. I think you have lots of fun playing around, finally creating dashboard or charts of dashboard that reflects the unique data need of your organization. So please do sign up.
All right, so if you tuned in to the previous innovation session, you would have learned about how we've made it easier to get access to the data that we uplift into data services. So you saw a preview of our ability to have a new control, which makes it easier to create groups from the device. So this is both from a selecting columns perspective, but also the ability to browse every attribute that's been created in data services. So this is either from the inventory engine, from the connectors, or even from custom registry locations on the device, and being able to leverage those attributes to create dynamic groups. So this has been in a phase of rollout. So this is called out again in this section for this release, because again, as we go to GA, we will look to be completing the rollout and have this functionality made available. As we move forward, we are also working on making this capability have the parity with the capability within the people view as well. So there's a number of capabilities that we are working towards, and Chris will touch on this a bit later in the session as well. But a big focus for us has really been to unify the reboot capabilities. Obviously, we have different capabilities within Neurons where the engines can require a reboot. So we have patch management, we have our app distribution. In the future, we'll be plugging our bots capabilities into this as well. So what this means is that by tying these capabilities together, we can have a unified end user experience, which means that they're not having to do sequential reboots triggered by individual engines where there's multiple requirements to do so. It means we can centralize on the UI, and also give the administrator the capability to identify the level of flexibility needed, and make sure that the user's got control there to be able to defer the reboots when appropriate, to make sure we're optimizing the digital experience. So we have some other additional capabilities as well. So again, we were hoping to have shipped these. Unfortunately, these ones have been pushed back a little further. So really a sneak preview of some of the capabilities that we are working towards. Again, from an early access perspective, there will be the opportunity to test drive some of these capabilities before they're fully released. So we definitely want to socialize some of these work in flight to give you an idea of what's coming up, but also the chance to register your interest if you want to be able to test drive these ahead of the mainstream. So one is the ability to manage enrollment keys, and so really this is really a twofold. So the enrollment keys are useful for when you want to, from an installment perspective, have the ability to have devices land in a specific group, but it's also visibility for in particular environments where there may be external distributions, reapplying agents that can consume enrollment keys. It gives a way to be able to manage, to be able to visualize, to manage, and to control the enrollment keys and those expiries. There's a number of workflow enhancements that we're making, so really a huge level of investment going on across our agentry in general, and so really this is around helping the scalability of the feature to make it easier to manage larger environments. So again, there'll be a new workflow here for the agent install flow. And moving on from a discovery perspective, I'm going to hand over to Rex to talk through some of the work the team have been doing there. Rex, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Robin. Super exciting, Susan. As we look at discovery, we continue to enhance our connectors. A lot of user feedback. I think we can step to the next slide, Robin. And first off was our Microsoft Defender endpoint connector. As we went out, we wanted to be able to get not only the endpoints there, but we also wanted to be able to get some of the vulnerability data from Defender so that we can look at it and we can understand, hey, here's the data that we need to be able to kick off patch and understand the vulnerabilities on a device. So this is starting down that path of the centralized security insights. So you'll see us continue to enhance that. And the next slide. As Robin started off talking about our definite need and desire to always follow on our customer feedback. So CrowdStrike, we pulled in software data. Intune, we added additional filters. We did a BYOD filter for Intra, and we've added additional data with SCCM. All of those driven from you guys as customers, feedback and requests and the use cases that you knew you could solve. So we're very excited, and we will continue enhancing these connectors based on your feedback, and you'll see more of them coming soon. Back to you, Robin.
Super, thanks, Rex. So a couple of updates from a workspace perspective. So first of all, we have some enhancements coming in from remote control. We'll double click on those in a moment, an important topic for many of you. From a bots perspective, we'll talk about the ability to trigger bots from the API. Again, I touched on that at the start. And there's a wealth of other updates for bots. Rather than duplicate those, we'll cover those in the healing section. So again, we'll double click on some of those new and exciting capabilities that apply to both healing and workspace as we get to that section. But first of all, if you've not visited our developer portal yet, you can go to developer.ivanti.com. There you've got the ability to sign up. We have a number of APIs there, specifically on the Neurons platform at the moment. We have APIs into data services, so the ability to access information held against people and devices. There is also a patch reporting API in beta. What we're introducing for this release is that ability to be able to trigger bots. So what this API will give the ability to do is to authenticate, to trigger a bot, to be able to retrieve a list of the published bots that are available. And for those bots, being able to understand what inputs are required by those bots. So when we talk about inputs, what our automation has the capability to do is to take context from an external source. So in the case of for example, you want a bot that can go and map a network drive for a user, and that's going to want to know a drive letter, and it's going to want to know the path that you want to go and map, for example. So today we've got the ability within Workspace that an analyst can go and trigger a bot, and we can have a very general purpose bot. When that bot runs, it prompts the analyst and says, hey, you want to go map a network drive? What drive letter is it you want to map, and what's the path that should be mapped to? So that way you can keep the bot very simple, and you can defer the context of that to be determined at the time when it runs. So we've passed that same capability into the API. So if you've got a connecting system that you want to go and trigger a bot from, you can go and identify what inputs the bot's going to ask for. So when you trigger the bot, you can render that appropriately, pass the context in, execute the bot. As well, if you're familiar with our bots, we have that ability to relay information back to the analyst that triggered the bot. So it's not just a case of ran the bot like a script, it was success or fail. We can also give granular information back, like, hey, this bot is going to go and perform the following test. The first test came back, this was the result, and it can automatically give you that sequential step-by-step feedback. Again, those same messages are made available to the API. Again, there's no restrictions we're placing on the API at this point. There's no monetization associated with executing that bot, but definitely would welcome the feedback, the use cases, how can we make it more useful? So go do have an explore. So when there is a manual process, when you sign up for the API, there is documentation on this. You have to go in, you have to sign up. We need to be able to set flag behind the scenes to effectively pass the API through. But once you've done that, it should be a fairly straightforward process. Okay, next we have a number of remote control updates, and really the goal here is to help our customers be more successful by making sure that we have a really good focus on the stability to prevent issues from early disconnections, and making sure that we keep a parity as closely as possible with the shared technology that we share with our mature endpoint manager software, where we leverage those same common components. So in this coming release, there's a number of new capabilities in there. So it's the stability, improved monitoring, improvements in there were a number of changes that Google made to the Chrome browser. So some of those capabilities to help save memory by snoozing tabs. So that had a knock-on effect because we are a browser-based remote control solution. That had a knock-on impact. We've got a solution for that one in the latest release, just to make sure that, again, from an analyst perspective, they have that stability, and a number of new capabilities with the new remote control engine. So there's a number of improvements there with the file transfer, the remote execute, some enhancements to the font, the size, and the ability to select the session that you want to go in remote control as well. Okay, moving on from an edge intelligence perspective. So there was a question there, is any of this applicable to on-prem customers? So from an EPM perspective, yes, again, we share that same remote control engine. So of course, as we bring the improvements in there, of course, they are applying to that product as well. A great suggestion on the session for the Solution Summit, how to integrate third-party tools by API. Definitely a good one to take under consideration. Remote control, so any news about audit logs. So yes, that's something that the team are working on. The other item, the other big ticket item for remote control the team are working on as well is policy level control for kiosk mode, when you want to have the granularity behind session acceptance for devices, which Jamie asked that question there. So team are busy working on that. Again, opportunity to early access that as soon as that is available. Know that is a popular requested item, and the team are really busy about getting that one available. Of course, if you want the ability globally to remote control without getting user permission, the team can absolutely help you out with that today, but it's an all or nothing today. What the policy level work will be to allow customers to have the granularity to choose which devices. Okay, edge intelligence, a couple of capabilities to share here. So first of all, the application control sensors. I spoke a little bit about those at the start, as with shared favorites. So let's go and jump straight in. So application control sensors. So our application control technology, of course, in the last release, we announced our UWM hybrid capability. So our hybrid capability is taking our application control, our performance manager, our environment manager capabilities, which are on-prem solutions, but what we have done is made those into a hybrid solution. So we've taken those agents, we've converted them into Neurons engines, and in doing so, we've removed a lot of that management friction from being able to deploy policies on devices that are anywhere. They're off the grid, they are not under the IT network. So removing that friction, but to complement that, obviously one of the challenge there is that observability aspect. How do we understand which applications are getting blocked? How do we understand where users are experiencing friction and have that intel that we need to be more refined with the policies? And that's really where these sensors come in. So this has the ability to aggregate, to look across the board, to understand what's the breakdown of the different engines, what's the health of the application control, which applications are getting blocked, and so that helps to piece together the information that's needed to be able to understand what's happening. So there's a question there, can these events also be written back to the AMC? So really with hybrid mode, the benefit is you don't need an AMC, because what the Neurons platform is doing is dealing with that config distribution, the engine distribution, the config versioning, and with this capability, that observability as well. So the goal there is that customers can effectively reap the benefits of not having that additional management, additional expense, and be able to leverage the cloud deployments. All they use from an on-prem perspective is the console to be able to go and configure the capability. Okay, the next part is shared favorites. So from an edge intelligence perspective, this is around, of course, when we go into to edge intelligence, we can go and create queries. For example, we might want internet latency, and we maybe want to understand, well, okay, here's internet latency to the internet, but maybe we want to understand the latency to different business critical locations. And maybe we want to scope those out to different devices. Maybe we want to restrict them down to particular devices and operating systems. And by the time we've gone down that route of creating these customizations, we end up with something that's very useful in the context of a specific problem we want to monitor. But then we want to be able to save that for easy reference next time, but then also make it available to teammates to be able to help them be more successful as well, without them having to try and replicate the same query. So we've introduced a new partition in the favorite. So when you go and save a favorite, you choose where you want that to be stored. Is it standalone or is it shared? And then when it's shared, it's available for every user that has access to the Edge Intelligence UI. So that is already available now. So we push that out mid-quarter. So moving forwards, the other piece of work the team are busy working towards is Edge Intelligence is extremely powerful in that it operates in the here and now. It can aggregate huge amounts of information from devices in near to real time. And one of the ways we have been working to make that more powerful is to support the time series aspect. So maybe we get a call on a help desk, device is running slowly. Is it running slow now? Well, no, it's actually running slow this morning. And having that historic visibility, that ability to say, if only we had Task Manager open earlier, we could have seen what was going on. So the goal is to have Edge Intelligence logging this granular data. It stores it for a period of time on the edge. And then when we call that sensor, we've got the ability to be able to show these time series graphs. So we have that capability available today. It is controlled by registry settings today. Again, we're looking to bring this into the policy framework so that we can actually have a front-end UI to have different settings across different devices, give customers the ability to control a rollout, and from there we'll be able to expand the capabilities, expand the visualization, and where this is available. Okay, so moving on to healing, and the next section, I'm going to invite Alan to talk about some of the exciting things the team have been doing there from an app distribution perspective. So Alan, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Robin. It's good to be here. Glad we can have so many people join us today. I'm going to talk a little bit about app distribution. So what is app distribution? Some people might refer to it as software distribution, right? That's also a very common industry term. So software distribution, app distribution, same thing. We introduced app distribution in the October release of Neurons for Healing. So the capability is included in Neurons for Healing. So if you own that product, then you have app distribution. Neurons for Healing is also included in Neurons for DEX, which is a broader package. So if you own either of those or Neurons for UEM, then you have app distribution. This is typically generally going to be used by people in your organization who are over ensuring that endpoints have all the applications, all the software, running scripts, things like that on endpoints. So most of you are familiar with maybe that kind of a tool, and we're expanding and building that here on Neurons. Next slide, please. So just a few things that we are releasing in this January release as an update to it: registry actions and detection rules. So in the product, when you're creating a package, we have detection rules that allows you to determine whether an application already exists or not. We added registry action, or we are adding registries to the detection rule now, so you can see whether that registry is there, a key, a value, et cetera, compare that, and determine whether the rest of the action even needs to run or not. And then also an action, registry action, so you can create or modify keys as well. This is very important for, adding extra power to your packages that you want to put out. Next slide. MSIX support. So this is a modern packaging way. Microsoft introduced this a while ago, but it's another way of packaging applications so it can run in a bit of a, what do you call it, virtual environment. So we wanted to be able to support this. There are a number of applications out there. I don't know how highly adopted it is, but it's adopted enough to where we are getting requests for it. So we wanted to make sure that we can. It's especially valuable for VDI type scenarios, because a lot of times in VDI, you just want to install something in a virtual type app, it runs and it goes away. So it's important for this to be available to our customers as well. Next slide. Return code mapping. This is important for if you want to be able to control what the result of an install is or a script, besides just the default of 0 being success and anything else is a failure. Right? This is an important piece. It's been part of our other software distribution products that we have on-prem, including Endpoint Manager and DSM and others. And so it's really important to allow you the flexibility to choose other return codes and decide whether that's a success or a failure. And you can put your own description and message in there, so it will come back and tell you inside of the log files what exactly is going on. So this is an important one, again, for enterprise type software distribution. Next slide. And the last one I'll talk about is integration with Neurons bots. And Robin referred to this already. It's important, you know, many organizations, of course, have people focused just on deploying applications. And so we have this tool for that. You can see the status and see how that goes. But you want to extend that use case, and many times you want to extend that and use the power of Neurons bots that can delve into many cases that, okay, if the initial install didn't work, maybe we want to make sure that these other corner cases or niches or just workflows in other areas can also take advantage of app distribution. So all of you are familiar with Neurons bots. You probably can immediately kind of see the value and how this connects in. And now, especially with the APIs that Robin talked about, and we will add additional, we're going to be introducing APIs directly to app distribution next quarter. Same type of thing, you can trigger many different ways now to trigger app distribution and get the results that you're looking for. All right, I can see a lot of questions came through. I don't know if they're all in AppDist, but I'll focus on answering those offline. I think we can probably keep going. I'll type in the answers on this.
Thanks, Alan. Great update and exciting to see as well. So, okay, so moving on to our bots capability, one of the big items of work we've been working on for a couple of quarters now is our survey management capability. So excited to be able to GA this capability as we move into the next quarter. So we have a couple of you already have been helping kick the tires and give early feedback on this capability. And really the premise is the ability to collect sentiment from users across a broader swathe of IT scenarios. So typically we're reaching out to users for things like service management when a ticket's closed, but we're maybe missing out on opportunities to understand things like applications. We've pushed out a new application. What's the experience with the application? Or just a device check-in. What's the experience been like with your various devices? So by being able to poll users on different topics, but more importantly, being able to take that information and being able to understand trends over time, being able to understand the breakdown of questions is an incredibly important part of understanding the overall digital experience. So this is really where our survey capabilities come in. And this is an extension of our bots capabilities. So again, I showed an example of this, I think, on the last session that we had. So won't cover this in great detail on this session, but what in terms of where we are at in terms of this phase, we are already in phase with the next piece of work on this, and what that's going to involve. You'll see some updates coming in on here, which will give you the ability to take those results and be able to slice and dice those results. So being able to filter down. So if we understand, for example, the device experience across the estate, we can understand how that trend is changing over time, but being able to slice those results by, for example, device hardware or by location to help understand the whys behind the numbers. As well as that, it's also combining free-form feedback with users. So when a user has a poor rating, asking the user to say, well, please tell us in your own words why that's a bad experience, and not only being able to show those results as part of the questions and be able to calculate the sentiment, apply that as part of the DEX score, but also being able to use generative AI to be able to summarize those responses so that you can get the executive summary without having to read potentially thousands of pieces of feedback from the users. So again, lots of opportunity there to be part of that design and validation and early access feedback. So again, do let me know if you're interested and you want to take part in that. But otherwise, we'll be turning this on in the coming weeks. to be able to leverage this capability. And of course, these surveys are actionable as well. So as well as being able to collect information, you've got the ability to, for example, jump in and create a service management ticket if your user's having a bad experience, go off and perform diagnostics, or do a combination of both, go do some diagnostics and create a ticket if needed. So we're also working towards offline targeting as well. So really the goal with this is when we go and run a bot, what will happen is it will filter out any devices that are offline and it'll run the bot against those devices that are online. With this next tranche of work that we've been busy working towards, what this will mean is we have the ability to optionally queue that bot against devices that are offline. So when the devices come back online, we automatically run the bot on those devices. So that means if you want to roll out a bulk remediation, for example, or to perform a survey, you only have to run that bot once and it will get the job done and wait for those devices to come back online. So much more efficient, and you can have simpler configs along with that as well. So APIs, we already covered that one, so we'll move on from that one. But the other corresponding piece is the web request API stage. So again, there's a number of you who've been testing this from an early access perspective, and this gives the ability to go and connect to an API, to authenticate with that API with basic or API key authentication, and to be able to retrieve information from that API that you want to use further down in the bot, or to drive change into a third-party system. So if you've ever used Postman or some other API technology, it should be very familiar, but again, it's all based around low code, so that the goal here is just to be able to use variables to pass information and easily pass the information out to preview. So again, we'll be pushing this out initially as beta capabilities to get some extended feedback, and then we will look to move that into a production stance once we've aggregated that feedback and understand if there's any tweaks or tuning that we need to make as we move forwards. So a number of new content stages that we've added. The first one is around device store. And again, when we consider bots, especially when it comes to human interaction, it's important to be sensitive that we're not over bombarding users. So again, a kind of a multi-prong approach here in terms of how we control that experience. One is with that ability to have that offline bot. So you only have to fire the bot once to get the job done. That's kind of part of the story around the triggering. But the other context is maybe we've got a low disk space, maybe we try and fix it automatically, but then there's a load of user data involved, so we need the user's permission, or at least notify the user they need to do something about it. So we have an interaction with the user, we give the user some options, say we could help you right now. Maybe one of the options we put in front of the user is, you know, remind me later, or I'm not interested, or so, in which case we don't want to run the bot again and then involve the user again. So typically the way that we've resolved that from a content perspective previously is to use registry flags. So we can leave a registry flag on the device. The challenge is, of course, that is just more backwards and forwards. It, again, if you're using Macs and Windows, it becomes then a separate approach for different operating systems. So what the device store stages do is unlock some advanced use cases. So what this allows you to do is to use an in-cloud store for each device. So what will happen is you can go and write information, be it a timestamp, be it a yes or no, be it a block of data, and that data can then be available to other stages or to bots. And we can use this for a raft of different features. And I'll give a quick demo on this one. I did promise some demo, so I'll give a very quick whirlwind demo and show how this will work. But effectively, it becomes a registry in the cloud that stores data on a per device for storing that data, retrieving that data, and bringing it back. So it expands the flexibility of what can be done. So another capability is a report stage. And this is different to the analytics that Susan was talking about earlier. This is a within bots experience and a way of being able to uplift information easily outside the bot. So again, back to the ideas portal perspective, one of the most popular stages that we have in bots is the email report, and that's the ability to go and click through different columns of information that people are interested in and be able to send that information out. And what number of people have asked for is the ability to say, well, actually, I want to use this information in another system. I want to be able to have a CSV from an email perspective. So what we've done is we've created this stage, and the goal with this is to be able to, again, in a similar way to an email, the ability ability to go and choose different columns of information that you're interested in. And what will happen is when this bot runs and the information passes through the stage, it captures that information. Where this gets really powerful, though, is that it can aggregate information between different runs. So if I want to run a bot routinely throughout a week, I've got different devices that are going online and coming offline, or different scenarios. And what I can do is I can then pivot the data. So I say I'm interested in information from the last month, from the last week, from the last day. I want to see all information, even if a device checked in multiple times, or I only want to see the last information for a given device. So I can control all that information, and then I can download that as a CSV, and the same from across queries as well. So again, we'll be pushing that up more broadly. We have a couple of folks early access testing that one, but again, that's here we go. So a couple of feedback coming in on there already. So fantastic. So yeah, we can I can get that enabled for you today, Lance. If you drop me a message on that one, can more than happy to get this available to anyone else who's interested as well. We also have a math expression stage. So some common use cases here. I want to convert bytes to gigabytes. I want to convert milliseconds into hours. But another use case for this in conjunction with the device store stages is I just want to increment the value by 1. Again, one of the challenges with automation is if something's broken, you can fix it. But if that keeps on happening, someone keeps turning the firewall off, an application keeps crashing, there reaches a threshold where you say, actually, there's something more serious here. I don't want to just keep taking the same course of action again and again. I want to be able to say, well, if this happens more than 5 times in a week, I want to do something different about it. So that's where a combination of the maths expression, the device store stages can come in handy. So next we have the GA, the Teams bot. I spoke on that one as well. Now, one of the exciting capabilities around this is we've been working to publish our bot out to the Teams App Store. So currently we have the Americas bot on there. So if you're tuning in from the US, you have Neurons Healing on Neurons Workspace, you want to use a Teams interaction. What this will give you the ability to do is to download it straight from the App Store without having to upload a manual manifest. The other advantage is we've marked that as available to customize, which means you can use a Microsoft UI to be able to change the look and feel of that app. So that is things like being able to choose the name, being able to choose the logo. So what that means is that when this bot pops up in user sessions, you can make it look and feel more like your company experience. Okay, in terms of content as well, we have been producing a number of out-of-the-box bots and stages. You'll notice if you use Lenovo hardware, there's a number of new bots and stages in there for being able to go and identify some different needs in there. So the Lenovo driver, BIOS updates, and there's some work there with Dell Command as well. A number of new stages that we touched on in the last quarter as well. So before I hand over to Chris, and again, just keeping an eye on time, but I did just want to show very quickly a couple of demo capabilities. So first of all, the survey bots that you'll see is a completely separate experience within there. Again, this gives you a top level capability, the ability to go and drill in, to be able to understand the survey, to slice and dice, to be able to see a summary of the different questions, the ratings of those, a breakdown of the ratings over time. And again, we'll be building very rapidly upon this experience. So the other thing I was just going to quickly show was around the repetition control and those device store stages. So if I go into repetition control, and here's an example around how those different capabilities can work together. So to really start on this one, let's just think about a scenario, and this is really where having low-code, no-code orchestration can really help you refine a use case. So imagine an example where you want to track the health of a business-critical application for application crashes. So the business objective you have is that, well, if it crashes once, I'm not really that bothered. But if it crashes 2 or more times in a specific time interval, so it exceeds a given rate, then maybe what I want to do is to check in with the end user and see if they need any help. If they do need help, I want to go and create a ticket, but I only want to do that once. If it happens multiple times, then I want to be able to update that ticket. So when the service desk pick it up, they've got a record of how many times it crashed, but I don't want to create more work for the service desk by having multiple tickets. If the user says, no, I don't want help, then I will leave them alone and I won't notify them again if I see further crashes for a certain period of time. But if it exceeds more than 5 times, I want to go ahead and create a ticket anyway. Now, if this happens over a period of time, then after a period of time, I want to rearm the bot. So I can say, well, OK, a period of time's passed. Now I want to start that cycle again. So if I want to achieve all those things, if I'm trying to do that in a single script, of course, that's going to be really intensive. But this is where the low code, no code aspect of bots can really help out. So what we're doing is we're having a look for recent application crashes. We're having a look in here to see we're reading out how many times it's crashed previously. If that doesn't exist yet, because it's the first time it's crashed, we'll go ahead and we'll create that. And then what we'll do is whatever value we read out, we're going to use that maths expression to just go and increment that value by 1. If that has happened between 2 and 5 times, we're going to have that interaction with the end user. So again, this is just going to have that dialogue with the end user to say, hey, do you need any help? If the user says no, then we'll say, OK, no problem. We'll continue to monitor. We'll notify the fact that we've interacted with the user. So we're not going to do that again, because again, we're reading here before we interact to say if the users, we're only going to interact with the user if we haven't interacted before. And then we are going to go and at that point, we're going to write that incremented value, so we're keeping track. So the next time this runs, if the user either clicked yes to that time, we're going to go and create the ticket. If we've exceeded that 5 times within a week, which was the threshold we set, we're going to join these stages together. We're going to go and create the ITSM ticket. The ITSM creation ticket capability is intelligent, and it's going to check that for that user and device, is there already a ticket open for this use case? If there is, it will just increment data on top of the same ticket. So it'll update the ticket. If we're using a journal field in there, we can put the notes for the text in there so the analyst can pick it up. And if the user had said, yes, I want help, we're going to have a feedback. We're going to give them a ticket reference number in case they need to contact the service desk. If this came through automatically, just because the user had said no, then we're not going to interact with the end user. And so that's an example of the logic behind the scenes. Again, looking at time, I'm not going to go through and give you the full feedback. But if I just go to an example that I ran previously, again, you can see within here that we've got that ability to go track with the user, get the reference number back to the user. And again, from a survey perspective, this is the other survey use case that we spoke about, where you can go and poll a user. It can be emojis, it can be rating stars, it can be numbers, it can be bullet points. And again, the contextual feedback is, let's go and collect that information back from the user and be able to use that to inform our decisions. So with that said, we have a few minutes left. I'm definitely over the time schedule from that perspective. I do want to give some time over to Chris to recap what's new from a patch management perspective, and to give us a minute or two to wrap up as well. So with that said, Chris, I will go ahead and share, and over to you. Do we have Chris? Maybe not. Well, from a high level perspective, so from a patch management perspective, some of the key initiatives the team have been working on there is the patch to zero capabilities from a Linux perspective. So the key operating systems there are Red Hat, 7 and 8, and CentOS. Windows patch management, some improvements there to the configuration enhancements, and this is based off feedback as well, the ability there to exclude patches using a patch group, and Mac patch management. Again, some configuration enhancements and feedback for that capability as well. So double clicking on those, the patch to zero is effectively leveraging the operating system package manager to query for those missing patches, but then being able to render that back in the UI to be able to offer the Neurons level of control on top of that one, and then the ability to see the missing updates, apply any patches until there's none missing without needing specialized content in order to do that. And then, as well, that the patch configuration, the exclude patches by patch group capabilities in there. So again, if you want to deep dive on those, go check out the recordings for those. This is just really a recap to let you know that this is really what the team have been working on. And again, from that Mac perspective, the ability in there to add support for Mac Sonoma 14, and the ability to allow the always reboot capability from a Mac perspective. Reboot customization, again, we touched on that at the start as part of the platform capabilities, what we've been working towards there, just to make users confident that, you know, hey, this UI is something that's legitimate and it's got the requisite levels of control over that as well. So with that said, the last slide that we have, so again, we always appreciate the support. One thing you can really do to help us out, if you enjoy the products, is to leave us a review on Gartner Peer Insights. So again, Gartner will recompense for that with a gift card. If desired, there's a QR code on there, but certainly any support you can give us there, if you so wish, will be very gratefully received. Again, please do keep the great ideas coming in on the portal. And again, if you want to be involved with any of the capabilities that we're working towards, so again, some of the key callouts there: the survey experience, the web request stage, the dashboard designer, the agent management capabilities, native app control as well. So any of these capabilities you've seen today, if you want to be more closely involved with the design process, we certainly welcome any opportunity to interact, to get your feedback, and work more closely.
Hey,
So
Robin,
that said,
just a quick clarification on this page. When it says Ivanti Neurons for DEX, if you own any of the products that we've gone through today, you don't have to own the whole DEX, which was everything we showed today. But if you own just Healing or Workspace, or, you know, one or more of them, same thing. You can go in there, Neurons for DEX, and give your support and give a review for that.
Absolutely, good clarification, Alan. Thanks very much.
And I know we're at the top of the hour, but there were a few quick questions towards the end of the chat if you want to answer real quickly, or answer maybe via email. Again, I know we're at the top of the hour, so but if anyone from the PM team wants to chime in.
Absolutely. So let's having a scan through in here. So should the bots API already be available on developer.ivanti.com? Yes, it is. You just have to click on the manage section. So when you click on manage, it is there today. If you have any problems, let me know. Bot for Google Chat. So I think we have an open idea for that. So if there's again, demand for Google Chat is currently in the collecting feedback phase on that idea. So please go in and vote on that idea. We have our Surface devices on the roadmap to be included, like Dell and Lenovo. Please, do raise an idea for that one. But certainly, yeah, the goal is to produce as much content as we can. We do have an email address. If you open any of the bot templates, there's a feedback address on there, so you can also leave feedback on any of the templates we have, or raise ideas on the idea portal, ideally, and we can again track. That helps us track and prioritize the demand based on the capability. But yeah, absolutely. Support for Debian, Ubuntu, yeah, from a patch perspective, no, but we can, again, if you check out the recording from the session, they'll dive into more detail on kind of where we're at for that one, but we can get additional information there. And 2024.1 when, so the general availability date is the 23rd of January when the features get turned on. We announce that a little later. But again, if there's any particular features you want ahead of the time, there are certain features that have to go out on a GA date because they have prerequisites. Other items, many of the items I spoke about today from a bots, from an edge intelligence perspective, we can get those switched on a little early if you want those available.
Awesome. Thank you, Robin. Thanks everyone for joining, and again, we'll put the link to the recording out once we have it on Innovators Engage, so stay tuned for that.